respected Secretary Telecom, dignitaries on the dais, other dignitaries who are present here, representatives from the industry, the academia, some of the venture capital firms which are here, and others. Mr. Umashankar has explained what is the framework going forward. I will limit myself to saying a few words on what I think should be a possible direction for the innovation and R&D that the TCOCs will hopefully kickstart. Mr. Umashankar mentioned that this is a startup of startups. And certainly in India, we know that in the last few years, startups have attracted huge attention. In fact, India is estimated to be one of the most promising destinations for startups. Again, we also know that innovation is an imperative for any sector, certainly for a sector which is so technology intensive and which is really at the cutting edge of all other technology. Certainly, we cannot hope to survive without innovation. However, innovation is necessary and possible across an entire spectrum. If we look at the kind of innovation that is coming up in the e-commerce space in India, we know the kind of valuations these companies are commanding in the market. We know how venture capital is following them. I have no doubt that, as far as the space of e-commerce in India is concerned, we are going to be a major leader in innovation. Again, if we look at the telecom companies themselves, they have innovated, and that is how, in fact, they have been some of the global leaders in innovation, and that is how we are able to get telecom products and services at a fraction of the cost that the globe has. And I have no doubt that they will continue to innovate and compete and remain out there. However, there are other very specific challenges that we in India face where I am not sure that innovation and startups are going to naturally emerge. I would like to outline 3 or 4 such areas which are a national imperative. And I think that the TCOEs are going to play a very leading role in ensuring that R&D, innovation, funding, and application actually flow towards these areas. What would some of these areas be? Clearly, as you have all been observing in the last 6 months, right from the Prime Minister, the Telecom Minister, they have been expressing concern about the edge that India will have in telecom manufacturing. Given that we are already importing 75,000 crores worth of telecom equipment, which is forecasted to go up to nothing less than 400 billion in 2020, that is in just 4 short years. How are we going to address this challenge? There is a huge need for Indian industry to really start focusing on this space and seeing how we can innovate, to ensure that we do not lose our self-reliance. Secondly, if we look at the area of rural access, I remember there used to be a former secretary who would often say that one of the big challenges that everybody who is trying to provide a product or a service in India faces, and this is that India is not one homogeneous time entity. There is an India of the 2G, a 3G, a 4G, and probably soon we will have 5G. But let's not forget that all of them coexist together, and all 4 of them need to be serviced together. The 3Gs and the 4Gs will be magnets for innovation. And we will have, given the kind of bright talent that we have in all the institutes that many of you represent, certainly they will get serviced. But what about the populations that do not even have 2G at the moment? In fact, right now, the telecom department is currently working on a huge plan to address those who are still not even covered, who do not even have basic telecom access. So access is a huge area, and access doesn't mean just the networks. Access means the entire the ecosystem, right from devices, the networks, various other products, services that are relevant to these people. So certainly rural access is going to be one huge area. Under BharatNet, what used to be called NOFN, we already have tremendous opportunities for local innovation. For example, CDOT with their GPON, is playing a major role in spearheading some of that innovation. But that's just the beginning. There's a lot more scope. The third area is in smart cities. Again, we are, as a country, placing a lot of importance. There's a lot of potential in the smart cities. If we want the quality of lives to improve in our cities, we have to go the way of smart cities. But there again, we will probably have to innovate, by ourselves. I don't think solutions that are made somewhere else or products somewhere else are going to fit in immediately. There's a huge role for innovation, including customization, whatever you may call it. Certainly, we need our own indigenous talent, people who are familiar with our own terrain, our own issues, to come and work on this area. And last, a futuristic area, we are looking at an era of the Internet of Things, or maybe even the Internet of Everything. This is not relevant to everybody, but it will be relevant to very large sectors and very large sections of the population. Today, we may not imagine that they are actually going to be the consumers of the Internet of Things, but things can change. They may perhaps be the people who most need the Internet of Things. So definitely, again, this is a huge area of opportunity, but more than opportunities, we need to take a look beyond just market opportunities. We need to look at what are our national imperatives and how can we come together, government, the academia, industry, the venture funding and other industry institutions, think tanks, because I was reading in the brochure that has been put out, this is not just a question of getting people inside a lab to innovate. There are huge issues relating to how do we create a policy environment that generally encourages innovation. Can some of these think tanks share inputs on that? How do we ensure that, for example, consumers' interests, we start working backwards from where the problems are, rather than looking at just textbook kind of issues that we may think exist out there. So clearly there is a huge need, again, for capacity building. How do we build capacity, even for innovation, even to recognize innovation and support innovation? Because we have not traditionally had environments which have been most conducive to innovation. So certainly we would, I think, as a country, be wanting to see that some of these key challenges that we face are addressed, and that the TCOE becomes a starting point for some of this very important work to get kick-started. Thank you.